Hello and good morning and welcome to the third day of this Applied Artificial Intelligence Conference. My name is Matthias Grabner. I'm with Advantage Austria, and today we have planned for you a deep dive into AI ecosystems.
Yes, my name is Clemens Wasner from AI Austria, and today it's our very special pleasure to present you local ecosystems from our partnering organizations. So we start with the ecosystem deep dive in the UAE, followed by France, Romania and Bulgaria, and last but not least by Austria itself. So without further ado, I would directly hand over to Elin Hauge from Network Development Hub, who will host the session on the UAE ecosystem. Hello, Elin.
Good morning, guys. Thank you for letting us be on stage today as well.
Good morning, Elin. The stage is yours. We see each other in about 40 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So, welcome to this session about the UAE startup ecosystem. The UAE is in general a very international and innovative environment. And yesterday, this afternoon session, we talked about Dubai and Abu Dhabi. For this session, we will focus on the Emirate of Sharjah, which is a pioneering global hub for startups, and in particular in the tech space. The ruler of Sharjah is known for his relentless focus on education and the significant investments into education and innovation. The Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, for short SRTIP, is a free zone focused on innovation and linked to the American University of Sharjah. Their goal is to grow the innovation ecosystem in the UAE, and they want to attract SMEs and corporates to tap into the Middle Eastern region. They have a very specific focus on renewables, environment, mobility, smart cities, Industry 4.0, and life sciences. The purpose of this session is to understand more about the vibrant startup ecosystem in the UAE and how SRTIP enables this growth and collaboration. The session is hosted by Network Development Hub, an international advisory company founded by Naveed Syed and myself about a year ago. We help tech startups and scale-ups across the Nordics, DACH, and the Middle East in particular. We're now also including Sub-Saharan Africa and China. And we help the companies with international growth and expansion. Feel free to reach out to Naveed or myself at any time. And if you have questions on international expansions, reach out, please. We can help you. So the first speaker I would like to introduce is Ali Sajwani. He is the Director of Technology Transfer and Projects at SRTIP. In 2018, he established Grape Technology, which is a Dubai-based technology startup focusing on blockchain and artificial intelligence. And Ali is a significant profile on the blockchain stage in the UAE. Ali will share with us some insights into how the Innovation Park works and how they foster innovation. Ali, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Elin, for the nice introduction. I think you have done half of the speech that I'm supposed to do, but if you can share the presentation so we can get into the discussion, please. Thank you. So, like Elin said, Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park is a science park It's based in Sharjah, out of Sharjah. We are a subsidiary of the American University of Sharjah Enterprises, and we are located in the Sharjah University District. Now, as a research technology innovation park, we are also a free zone. So we help, incorporate companies and provide them with the services that's required for them to function and operate out of UAE from Sharjah. We are also a research center, and we are also an innovation park. So we'll take you through a few of our slides today to give you a brief idea of what we do and how we do things. And I think afterwards, we'll also invite one of our tenants of the park, members of the park, who will talk about some of the innovation that they have achieved in the artificial intelligence. So the park, the Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park, has been set up in line with the UAE the directive and aim to become a main player in the technology and in the innovation hub. So it was established under the direction of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasimi, the member of the Supreme Council and the ruler of the Emirates of Sharjah. His Highness had the vision of having Sharjah to become the hub of the education sector in the region. And this vision actually started more than 25 years ago. And the park comes as a way to complement by providing an environment and to help foster innovation and attract researchers and technologies and startup companies to come and innovate. We can summarize the objectives of the park into four main verticals. First one is to help into building innovation ecosystem. We support our partners to scale and build their innovation ecosystem by, like I said, hosting them here in the park, understanding their requirement, providing with the type of coaching and training that is required. Then number two, our objective is also to generate employment. So by creating new ventures and creating new companies and promote certain technologies in the emerging technology, then this way we create the right type of employment for the future. Third, we help catalyze a knowledge economy by commercializing R&D and promoting circular economy. Last but not least, we also help for the investing for the future. We simulate venture creation and attract ventures into the park. We focus on 6 different verticals, starting from water technology, production design and architecture, mobility, logistics and smart cities, healthcare, technology, digitization, renewable energy, and then environmental technology and circular economy. So these are the key themes of the park, and these are the domains which we focus on and attract companies to come and work with us within these different fields. Our model is based on the triple helix. So we are a part of, like I said, American University of Sharjah. So we have a very strong attachment to the academia. We are not limited to work only with American University of Sharjah, but also work with universities locally and regionally and globally also. We have connections with universities in Europe and Far East, in India, and the US. And we try to attract the type of research that will benefit our region and benefit the verticals and the scope of our park. Now, given that we are also a government organization, we have access to the government. We help analyze the requirements and the needs of the government in certain technologies, as well as try to promote the type of skills and innovations that are provided through our members to the governments for further deployment and taking them forward. And like I said earlier, since we are also a free zone, so we help host companies here. We have in our offices, we provide them with the trade license and the support required for them to operate from the UAE. And we also help set up startup companies, and we are very flexible in terms of the licensing scheme that we provide, depending on the size of the organization and the requirement that they're looking for. Over the past 3 years, we have managed to attract 100 and almost 120 companies into the park. And the companies who have come and set up with us have committed to investing close to $100 million in terms of building their own setups and building their test environments and sandboxes. The fact that we are located in the university district, we have access, the Sharjah University District, we have access to close to 22 education institutions, from universities to colleges to a different type of education institutions, and almost 47,000 students in this area out of which 2,000 of them are PhD holders. So this gives a very, I would say, rich access to academia and to resources and researchers who are available, like, in our close proximity. In the past years, we have managed to deploy certain projects. I'm presenting here a map of the park. The park actually goes from 3 kilometers from this side and 1 kilometer from this side. Here is our, if you can follow my pointer, this is our headquarter building, which we have inaugurated 6 months ago. And these are the different companies that we are working with today, starting from Skyway, which is a cable train company that they have decided to set up their testing platform here in Sharjah Park. We have Merlin, which is a company working on vegetarian, on vegitech and agriculture technology. We have set up a Sharjah Open Innovation Lab, which is a maker space that is hosting state-of-the-art machinery and 3D printing, not only for plastic and also for metal and for aluminium. We also have a metal shop and a wood shop. We also establish a company which is focusing on concrete 3D printing. We build a 3D house, which we'll show you in the next slides. We also collaborate with big players and brands like General Electric and Intel and Nokia, and different activities that we are currently hosting in the park. Our scope, our reach is actually global. Like I said, it's not local, and our mission is regional. We have connections with companies and education institutions all across the globe. And this is a picture of the Skyway train, which has been set up in the park today. And the picture here on the left corner is when the company the test center was inaugurated by the ruler of the Emirate of Sharjah. Marlene is an agri-tech company which has set up their greenhouse here in the park, and they're working on different type of technologies. And Civil Twin is a company, a Spanish company, was also set up, and they're working on solar and renewable energy. So like I said earlier, the Sharjah Open Innovation Lab is a maker space that is established here in the park, and the purpose of this place is to attract students who need to use a certain type of machinery that are not available in the university labs. The space is also available for startup companies who would like to prototype their products and print them, make them available or fabricate them, so that they can have a real prototype in front of them before they decide to go for mass production. Our collaboration with academia is starting from AUS, can be summarized in 4 different activities. So we start from the providing the IP and the licensing and commercialization to improve the intellectual property management for the research that are coming out of universities. Number 2, we help with the entrepreneurship programs to enhance innovation ecosystem. We help with employment and internship to support human capital deployment and development. And at the same, and last but not least, we help and extend a partnership in the labs that we have available in the park. So we recently also launched the Middle East and Africa Energy Innovation Hub. It is an accelerator program where we bring the top players in the oil and gas, in the green energy, and in the utilities to come and join the hub. They provide the opportunities that they're looking forward and some of the challenges that they're facing today. And through an accelerator program, we will go and do a global call, invite companies from all across the globe to come and provide solution to the problems that have been addressed. And I would invite whoever interested of you here to follow our social media from this hub and understand how we are progressing. And then if you have the right type of solution that you can support us with, then you can please directly communicate with us over the provided communication channels. We have done many activities in the past year with the COVID and the pandemic. We still managed to host many virtual sessions, including Women in Technology and the Sharjah Advanced Industry Accelerator. Then we also launched in December last year, the Angel Investor Network. We call it Sharjah Angels, and it is a platform available for companies to eventually come and invest into startups who have innovative ideas and who have certain use cases that they would like to present to them. On a different hand, we also host many diplomatic visitors and ministers in our park. And this is a picture here at the bottom of some of the delegation which have visited us in January this year. We have hosted during the past year more than 50 webinars, and during the COVID-19. Again, I invite you to follow our social media and the Sharjah Research Technology Innovation Park and be part of the channels that we were. And maybe also if you have something that you feel can add value to us, please communicate to us, and we will evaluate and assess, and then give you opportunity also to present through our channels. And last year in October, November, we had the 3D printing technology exhibition, where we demonstrated many types of innovations in the 3D printing field. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'll be available for any questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Ali. This was very interesting, and I already received a question from the audience about how to contact you, but I think you stated that quite clearly. And of course, I assume that people can reach out to you on LinkedIn as well.
Yes, sure, definitely.
So then, to the audience who wants to talk to him, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. We will take more questions a bit later, but first I would like to invite the next speaker, Dr. Angelika Eckstein. She's in fact German. She's lived in the Emirates for 11 years. She is the CEO of AI Directions, one of the startups within the ecosystem of SRTIP. And she will share with us some insight into the collaboration project with Merlin that Ali also mentioned. Merlin works on sustainable food production, and Angelika will share with us some insight into their aquaponic system, which means producing food or fish in tanks on land, and also how the waste from those tanks can be used as fertilizers. Angelika, the stage is yours.
Ellen, thank you so much for this nice introduction. And Ali, of course, thank you for introducing SRTIP, and we're a happy member of SRTIP. And as Ellen so correctly stated, Merlin and AI Directions are both part of SRTIP, and one of the roles that SRTIP fulfills so well is bringing these different companies together. And so they brought us together and bringing AI into the process of aquaponics. During this conference, you obviously hear a lot about big solutions in AI, and all this is absolutely wonderful. Yet, in reality, not all of these solutions are big scale and huge. There might be some more niche, interesting, smaller solutions, which in the end have a disproportionate result for those applying it. And that is exactly what AI Directions is specializing on. And that also has to do with us actually being able to function in areas of low compute or low or no connectivity. So the best example for this is actually Merlin with their aquaponics part. And what I would like to do is to give you a brief introduction through this video.
Welcome to Merlin Hops and Fish Together in a recirculating water system. The plant roots function as a biofilter. That clean water is circulated back into the fish tanks.
So that is a nice short introduction, and you've seen this little fish tank. And this is actually one of the things where we are concentrating on. The aim of this is obviously the more the fish eat, the happier they are, the more they produce, the better it is for the plants. Good, wonderful. But the problem is not just throw food in the water until the pigs can fly. No, the issue is that if the food stays too long in the water, it actually poisons the water. And I will explain that in a little bit more detail. We are talking about the natural process of aluminium breaking down in nitrate and nitrate. And the next slide is giving a wonderful little picture about this. So the balance we are striving for is to, in one way, make the plants happy by giving them enough of what they need, yet also keeping the fish happy. And that means not giving them too much of the nitrogen. And all this is a difficult balance to achieve. And it takes a lot of environmental factors also into account, not just the food. So what we are doing with AI directions, we are using computer vision to monitor the speed by which the fish are eating. And one interesting fact we learned is food that has not been eaten within 5 minutes will not go. So everything needs to go faster than within 5 minutes. That's just one of the little fun facts we learned. So we use that part, and we also use sensors to monitor some environmental conditions just to get to the right rhythm of the fish feeding that optimizes the situation. And that helps. Of course, you can do all of this manually. You can check and do this and measure exactly how much nitrogen is in the water but that can get very cumbersome and expensive. And if we can put this problem to AI and solve it, then that's obviously the better way. So, but this is not all what we're doing for Merlin. What happens is that the fish tank obviously needs oxygen. So this pump is there to put oxygen into the water. If this pump fails, again, a very bad outcome for the fish, and we don't want that. So what we've done is we placed some sensors to the pump to apply AI-supported predictive maintenance to it. And we use these sensors in many different environments. This is a very challenging environment, and I come to that in a minute. And what is also challenging here is that obviously this is not a luxurious situation where you have something like a digital twin or where you have thousands of these. This is a very unique device, as you might imagine. And therefore, the only thing we can do really is collecting data and looking for anomalies. Another pump we are also monitoring with a similar aim, even though it's a very different pump. That is a pump that looks after the water going through the system. That is now very important for the plants. And yeah, different setup, but we apply similar methodologies to monitor and do predictive maintenance for that one. So this is an example of what we produced because the poor sensors in the proximity of the pump where we want to apply it, the poor sensors would not have lived long. The environment is dusty, humid, a little bit too warm for most electrical things, and. So we built a very sturdy case, and that is with greetings to the 3D printing that's happening in Sharjah, and is surely far more professional. But it served our purpose. It closes tightly and protects the sensors, and so far they have lived well. To a different problem, and now we come really into the AI bit. When we are monitoring the fish feeding, and we want to understand how fast the fish are eating, we are first of all having different challenges. The first challenge is to distinguish the bubbles in the water from the fish feed. It sounds easy. For the human eye, it is. For some others, it's not. Another even more interesting problem is while the fish are eating, they actually push the feet on top of each other. So we have a density problem, and it's important to estimate the density in order to understand how much food is really left. So I'm showing you these three, let's say, evolutionary pictures. So the first picture is just showing, and you can see my cursor hopefully, it's just showing what if we do normal image processing, this is the output. Rather chaotic, I would say. So we need to apply more intelligence to this. So the next lot, this one here, is we apply knowledge of the environmental conditions and filter things out that shouldn't be there. Looks already a little bit better. But then we, in addition, take account of this density of the food, which I mentioned previously, and that finally leads us where we want to be, because this little curve here is showing how, in which tempo the fish are eating. So you see this is a concatenation of different AI models, which only together achieve the desired result. And there are also other interesting things to take into account. Different eating tempo means different things, which this goes into another AI model. The algorithm need to deal with extremely varying lighting conditions, and we had a lot of fun with that. And also, because we use different cameras to monitor this, we needed to stitch the different images together. And garment stitching is easier, let me put it that way. But overall, we solved all this. So we are making good progress in understanding what feed the fish need and also monitoring the pumps. This device, this little dashboard here, shows how we monitor the sensors, what we are monitoring, and how we turn this, and that is the AI bit in that part here, how we turn this into a predictive index. That means 10 is good. Everything below a certain threshold means go and do something. So that is what we provide in order to make this work. And yeah, this is a short example of where we are applying AI to a relatively individual problem, but hopefully it has a very good result for Merlin and even for this whole region. So we can support people being fed here without needing to import food. Thank you very much. And happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Angelica, for a very interesting example of collaboration and also a very interesting use case, so to speak. The future of food is extremely important to us. Now, I have received a few questions from the audience, and it would be awesome if Ali could also join us back on stage. And also my partner, Naveed, would be nice to see back on stage. So there you are, all of you. Excellent. So first, Ali, I have a question for you. It's actually it's a little bit outside food tech. It is about edutainment. So is the park also supporting edutainment startups?
You probably want, I would request your help. So what is edutainment?
I would simply call it the fusion of education, entertainment, and with a gamification addition to it.
So again, if it has to do with the technology, the answer is yes. If it has to do with education, the answer is yes. If it has to do with both of them, then the answer is yes. But
the answer is double yes.
So the best way for the whoever has raised the question, if they can approach us directly on our contacts, they can try with my LinkedIn also if they like, and then we can, inshallah, we have the time to talk to them and understand more what they're looking for.
Thank you very much. Very good answer. So, dear audience, feel free to contact. Now, Ali, I have one more question for you before I move on to Angelica. Does every member state of the UAE have their own AI strategy, or is there a common strategy? And how? Yeah, feel free.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please.
So overall, the United Arab Emirates government have set up an AI federal entity, and there is a Minister of Artificial Intelligence who is responsible to create an overall strategy for the UAE, and all the other emirates. Then they might have, I would say, different plans of how they want to implement the AI part of it. But overall, it's all under one umbrella.
Thank you very much. Angelica, more general question to you. What would you say are the uniqueness for you as a startup in working with SRTIP?
Yeah, except from having a chance to get visas from there and having an office space and so all the general things which are offered by many different let's say organizations. But the uniqueness of SRTIP for me are two different things. One is the extreme technology focus, which obviously suits very well to a company like us. And the other one is the noticeable desire to bring the companies under the umbrella of SRTIP together to actually do projects like I just explained, for example, Merlin and we do together. And that was, by the way, an initiative of Mr. Hussein, the chairman or CEO or leader, I don't know the exact title, please Ali help me if it's needed. He actually initiated this work together. He said, hey, the two of you, you need to talk, you need to apply AI to make their outcome hopefully even better. And this is what led to the project. And that's just great.
Yeah, I also find it a really interesting collaboration project. And to me, now Naveed and I work a lot with startups across the world, and we often see the potential for making these startups work together. And what you do in SRTIP is such a nice example of how you can also co-locate and collaborate in a very innovative environment. I have one more question for Ali. So we often see that the corporates and the governments, they struggle a bit with collaborating with startups because they just work in different ways. And the same way we see that startups typically struggle a bit to find their path to the corporates. How do you work in the landscape between the corporates, the governments, and the startups to bridge this gap?
So very good questions. Now, since we are also focusing on entrepreneurship, we have the tools and the resources to coach these type of startups so that when they come and they pitch to the governments and to the large corporates, they tell them what they are looking for, right? So they tell them what they would like to hear and they present them with stuff that they are looking for. And again, we always do our due diligence. So whatever recommendation we give to government or to corporates is after we do our own assessment. And this is how we gain the trust from those big corporates and entities that we have given them something which is already at least, thought of and evaluated, and it's ready for their consideration.
Can I add one question, Ellen, to Mr. Ali?
I was about to ask you.
I mean, I mean, Sharjah was home to me for 8 years. So I've literally seen the park, take shape. I have seen the commitment coming from Mr. Hussein, Marwan, and Najla coming together to see how the ecosystem can come together. One of the things, I mean, like Ellen touched upon earlier, is companies that we work with here in the EU and in the Nordics, they basically also would like to kind of participate in some kind of challenges in terms of what projects are currently being ongoing, either within the government or the corporate sector. Is there such kind of challenges that are being ongoing within SRTIP?
Great question, Naveed. So I maybe mentioned very briefly that we had the Sharjah Industry Accelerator program launched last year, and that was phase 1, where we attracted almost 500 companies across the globe. We have also launched recently, in the past 2 weeks, the second edition of the Sharjah Industry Accelerator program. And I would invite any company who have innovative solution that they can probably, contact us through that channel and submit their innovation or their idea, and we can put them into the accelerator competition, and then they have the chance to win and then win prizes. Now, if they have, if they are more confident about their solution and they have a ready-made product, then again, I'll invite them to connect with us, and we can evaluate and then advise them whether this type of thing is actually, if we have any requirement from any of those larger corporates for this type of a problem.
A follow-up to that, I mean, that's a very good answer, coming up. I have been a part of a lot of challenges by taking companies from EU and other places. One question that came up during those conversations was, if we take a challenge and we win the contest, I mean, for example, is SRTIP going to take any equity or any kind of a percentage in that business for the international startups?
So we don't want to compete with people, right? For whatever they generate, right? But what we will do for the winners, we will have them set up here in the park. We provide them with the reach to the respective producers. To the respective consumers of the services that they are providing, and then we can talk about different ways of collaboration depending on how much they're expecting from the park to get involved. So if they expect the park to get too much involved in terms of day-to-day operations, arranging for meetings, opening doors, maybe arranging for funds, then definitely there will be some fees that is expected out of it. But if it is a general services, then that we provide free of cost. I mean, for the winners of the accelerator program, and if they are a tenant, then they have the regular fees that they will have to pay to be hosted in the park.
Thank you.
So to follow up on that, one of the questions from the audience is, what are the strengths of the UAE within the AI domain? So are there specific industries or use cases where the UAE is specifically strong, particularly strong, sorry?
Well, I think probably, if you follow the media, probably you will hear a lot about what's happening in the UAE, and the fact that we have a Minister for Artificial Intelligence in our region. I think it is one of its kind. This shows the attention from the leadership of the country into AI. Now, do we have a very specific field? I think I would suggest, since we are also an oil, we are still dependent on oil and gas, and we will be dependent on oil and gas for the coming at least 30 years. Any innovation around the oil and gas to support either produce the oil and the gas in a more efficient way, or monitor the consumption, or reduce the cost of doing that. All of these sort of intelligences around that, using IoTs and AI, that is definitely something which can be easily, I think, marketed in the country. Now, there are other areas also, of doing cognitive AI and doing, analysis of certain things using machine learning and deep learning. I mean, I would not say that we are specifically limited to a certain field in AI. Probably we are more than, I would say, open to collaborate in different areas of AI.
Thank you. Angelica, I have one more question for you. Now,
Yes.
in Europe, we sometimes talk about the environment in the Middle East versus women. You are a woman, originally German, and you've been in the Middle East for many years. You're working there, living there, thriving there. What is your perspective on being a female leader and innovator in the UAE?
This might come a little bit as a surprise, but I've never felt as comfortable as I feel here and now. I know there is, in many cases, and that is when I, for example, watch German television or so, I sometimes have the feeling, people, before casting any judgment, why don't you just come over and look for yourself?
Yeah.
Because what is happening here is that, for example, a good friend of mine finished her electrotechnical study, and she's now going for her PhD. And in her year, there were actually more ladies finishing electrotechnical engineering study than men. Find that in Europe.
Find that in Europe. Very true. Actually, I think this is a topic we should probably do a separate session on, because I find it very interesting, and I think it's very important to bridge this cultural gap and business culture gap between Europe and the Middle East, because there's a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings. And Naveed and I see that very often when we work with our clients and the market, that people believe, but they don't really know. So building this competence and this insight, I think, is very, very important.
Absolutely. And I think it starts all from knowledge, because the more people know, the less fear there is, the less misconceptions, the less interpretation into facts that might actually not be 100% correct. So, knowledge. Only with knowledge comes understanding, and disseminating this knowledge and helping people to understand what it is and isn't would be extremely helpful.
Thank you very much for that answer. Naveed, we have 3 minutes left. I would like to hear a closing remark from you on the role that we play when we bridge the cultural gap between the regions that we work on.
Absolutely. I think, yesterday we briefly touched upon, the cultural differences between, the EU and the Middle East. It basically comes, like Angela rightly, pointed out, before making up your mind, visit, spend time, get to know, the different cultures that you come across, different nationalities that you interact with. What role that we are playing, as Network Development Hub, is to kind of create a bridge between understanding the culture, in the Middle East, and understanding the culture in the EU. So there is a good connection that we bring to the equation. Secondly, I think there are lots of opportunities where we can create possibilities of collaborations between institutions like SRTIP and the accelerators, incubators over here in Austria and the other EU regions as well. So that's another area that we're focusing on. One thing that Ali Hail, pointed out during his talk, I think one of the responses that he was giving was access to academia. There are some amazing institutions in the EU and in the Nordics. Why not we bring in those institutions over to the Middle East? Because again, we have tons and tons of information that is related to research. Middle East, UAE in particular is a new country, 50 years, and that will be a great opportunity that we share the knowledge and experience that's been gained here in the EU and Nordics and share it with the Middle Eastern institutions. So I guess the more we have these kind of interactions, the more the audiences are going to get educated about how we can create synergies and collaborations and create meaningful collaborations, between different regions.
And with that, I would like to thank our eminent speakers, Angelica and Ali, for your inputs and insights for this session. Thank you, Navid, for sharing your perspectives. Always useful. Thank you very much to the organizers, Clemens and Matthias, again, for making us look good on stage. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Thank you to our audience. And again, feel free to reach out. There are a lot of opportunities for European companies in the UAE startup system. So go for it.
Thank you so much, Elin, Navid, and of course, Ali Sajwani and Angelika Ekstin, for sharing your knowledge on the AI and accelerator ecosystem in the UAE and especially in Sharjah. Very interesting. There have been many questions of people wanting to get in touch with you directly. I just want to direct all those people to our matchmaking platform where they can reach out to you. Thank you very much. And Network Development Hub, we see each other soon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Workshops in the afternoon. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. And Clemens,
since it's 10:45 already, let me directly switch to our next AI ecosystem view today. Yeah, it is my very special pleasure to invite our friends from Hub France IA to the stage. Hub France is a partner organization of AI Austria. We are doing quite a couple of things together. For example, 2 weeks ago, they supported us bigly with the AAIC FinTech, and we are also together members of the European AI Forum, which Gael will tell us more about later. So, hi, Gael.
Hello,
Pleasure
good
to meet
morning.
Good morning.
Gael Pinson, General Manager of Hub France. Yeah, very nice to have you here on stage. It's a great pleasure. And also with us, my colleague from Advantage Austria in Paris, Melchior Faure, our Innovation Officer. Hello, Melchior.
Hello, Matthias. Hello, Clemens. Bonjour, Gael.
Bonjour.
Hello, good morning. And we would gladly hand over the floor to you. And we see each other for the Q&A session in a little bit.
All right. Thank you very much, Matthias, for this introduction. I don't know if Arnaud is already connected or if he will join us later. Good morning, Arnaud. Welcome to this keynote.
Hello, good morning. Thank you.
Thank you for your availability. I'm very pleased to introduce both of you and to have this little discussion about the AI ecosystem in France. You choose to have this kind of relaxed conversation, so I will start right now. And maybe Gael, you could introduce to our audience the role and tasks and members of Hub France IA, and later we will give the word to Arnaud, who will present his startup, Predigence. Gael,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting Hub France IA and Predigence to this very nice conference. And let me introduce in a few words Hub France IA. We are a non-profit organization. We have been created 3 years ago by many members of the ecosystem who had 2 targets in mind. First, we had to do more applied AI in Europe and in France. And second, we had to do a French AI which is embedded in a European one, so as to be strong enough. So our members are startups, SMEs, corporate companies, and what we do is help them do the best use of AI, of applied AI in any way. So we have working group communities on very different themes where our members will mutualize their work to produce a common product in AI. We also do networking on a French basis, but especially on a European one. And then we also have a program on education. This is a France IA in a nutshell.
Thank you, Gael. How many members does Hub France IA have?
We have about 80 members. Most of them are startups. And we hope to have our corporate companies grow more and more.
All right. Thank you, Gael. Arnaud, your startup is Predigence. pretty well known in France and very successful. Could you please introduce us to your company and tell our audience what you are doing in the field of AI?
So good morning, and thank you very much for having the opportunity to exchange with you today. My name is Arnaud Guérin. I'm the CEO of Preligence. Preligence is a 5 years old company that is leveraging AI for the defense and intelligence community. We are helping our customers that are exclusively governments to extract value and information out of all the data that they are getting. They are investing heavily in satellite imagery, drones, aircraft, to get pictures, to get video of what's happening in their area of interest. But now they get overwhelmed by the quantity of data that they are getting. So what we do is, for example, if an analyst is interested to look at a strategic site, we can enable them to avoid looking every day just to know if something is happening. We are processing 100% of their data, and we can alert the analyst so that they will look at the site only if a significant event is happening, like there are armored vehicles coming in a military camp, or there are submarine that was not supposed to be there, or a drone that was not supposed to be there that is coming. So we detect automatically those threats, and we can alert the analyst. The company is now a strong of 130 people, and we have references in 5 countries on the regional hubs outside of France, in Singapore, in Asia, and also in Washington, DC, in the US.
All right, thank you very much, Arnaud. I also tell our audience that they can use the chat and ask any question they want to Gaël and Arnaud. So I will also maybe start with the first question. The French government has an ambitious AI strategy that was launched by the end of 2018. There were a lot of information about those AI institute. France has 4 of them. Gaël, could you maybe sum up this AI strategy and tell us how Hub France IA is part of it, if your association is part of it, and later maybe we will have the view from Arnaud regarding this strategy, if it's, for instance, if it has consequences on his startup. Gaël, please.
Yes, thank you very much. France IA has very strong relationships with public partners, governmental partners, the DGE, Direction Générale des Entreprises of the Ministry of the Economy, and also public partners like the Région Île-de-France. So we are very much involved in implementing this public strategies. The national AI strategy was launched with the Villani report, AI for Humanity, in March 2018. And this report was focused on talents, dissemination, and ethics. These were the 3 main targets of the AI approach. 1.5 billion euros were associated to this plan. The plan was then in a way applied to different topics. In November 2018, applied to research with the institutes, the 4 research institutes you just mentioned. Then in April 2019, there was a specific plan for the army and AI. And then in July 2019, there was one for the economy. This was for Hub France IA the most important one, because it is dedicated to creating AI supply and creating AI use. And in this domain, also fostering the data economy with specific call for projects like the Appel à Projet Mutualisation, a call for projects dedicated to data sharing. So this is, in a nutshell again, the plan on a national level. Of course, there came then the recovery plan last September with 100 billion globally, and 40 billion coming from the EU, and a lot of investment on AI. So we are implied in this plan because we also work on AI that will be ethically qualified. We work on talents with education, and of course our main objective is dissemination of AI within the society. So I must say we are in the track, and we have accompanied our members for this call for project Appel à Projet Mutualisation, and we had 3 candidates that got financement: the Voice Lab, AI and Voice, AI Cargo Fondation in the field of logistics, and the platform Aleia, AI as a service.
Thank you very much, Gaël. Arnaud, how would you consider this this ambitious AI strategy that France has for about 3 years? Could you see real impact on your company?
So clearly, for Preligence, this policy was a major milestone. As Gaël mentioned, in this policy, there was a focus on specific industries. On one of the 4 or 5 highlighted industries or on priorities was defense. So to understand that AI for defense can have a lot of implications. So this has enabled us to get more knowledge from our customer that this is a very important priority at the state level. So awareness is really a first element that is very important. A second that Gaël also mentioned is that together with this policy came significant investment from the state that resulted in several contract opportunities. So the defense community is investing heavily to be able to integrate artificial intelligence capabilities in their day-to-day processes. So within all the scope of defense, intelligence community is one item that is very, very concerned by AI. This was really a direct benefit for us. One last element for us was, and it's linked to the awareness, is training. All the decision makers on the top executives at the Ministry of Defense got more information about artificial intelligence on some clear guidelines on how to use it, and this is really a boost for the business.
Okay, thank you very much, Arnaud. This leads me to my next question. You're speaking about awareness, about communication. How would you consider, maybe if we step a bit back, how would you consider the AI perception in France by the public, by companies, by government or administrations? Maybe Arnaud, you could give us an insight, and then Gaël maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to be focusing on my industry. Gaël will comment more broadly on France. What I can say for defense is, to be 100% honest, is people talk a lot about AI, and I think our customer for a few years have been waiting a little bit to really see what AI can bring, because there was a little bit a gap between the buzz on the publicity around it, on the real day-to-day impact in the life of our customer. So what we have seen in the last few years is that we have been able to gain the trust of the customers by putting some products in operation that brings a lot of value day to day in their work. There was a lot of fear at the beginning. Will it actually work? Can we trust AI? Will it actually take my job? And now, what we see a few years after starting the service is that the people would have a hard time trying to go back to the situation before they had our software. They really see they can focus on high added value tasks. They see that the system is working. They see they can do their job better. So they are really very strong advocates of the solution. So I would say that really over the last few years, the trust in AI has grown significantly. People are still aware that one need to be cautious. We need to consider ethics. We need to anticipate thinking, but we should not be scared, and we should really embrace what the technology can bring, and still keeping in mind the framework and the limitation that one should obviously put.
Okay. Thank you, Arnaud. Gaël, would you say that France is AI friendly, an AI friendly country?
Yes, I think France is AI friendly because we have a very strong, especially public support to our startup ecosystem. But to come back to what Arnaud said, it is true that there has been a lot of buzz, and the question is now about the return on investment. All companies, SMEs or corporate, they want to know about the return on investment, and this will be the basis for really disseminating very largely AI. There's also the part, the social part, hybriding new jobs with AI, thinking about all the change in employment linked to AI. This has to be accompanied very actively. But what I would say is we still have to do a lot on data, because there's no AI without data. And many corporate companies still have a relationship like, oh, this is my data, I'm going to keep it for myself, I really have a lot of value in my company and don't want to share it. Or at the other extreme, there's this open data initiative, which sometimes are not totally business friendly. So we have to find a way of getting data flowing and having a free, very well working market of data in Europe. Work on data governance and all the functional and technical requirements for this data movement. That's why we're very much interested at Francia in the German association IDSA, International Data Space Association. They have been pioneers in working on data movement, and they are an international association now. And we're interested also in Gaia X, because Gaia X is a way of promoting interoperability. So I think we will be really data friendly when we will achieve AI friendly, when we'll achieve this consciousness about data.
Okay, thank you very much, Gaël. My next question will be also for you. You named 3 successful companies that Hub France IA helped to answer state contract. Could you name maybe other, because we are applied artificial intelligence conference, could you maybe name some examples from a company that are members of your association in our everyday lives, how they use AI in France, for instance?
Yes. So I can mention first the example of an SME, Septodon, a world-leading SME in dental products, and we accompanied them in the context of the PAC IA, which is a program we are monitoring for the Région Île-de-France, a public program of the Région Île-de-France dedicated to SMEs so that they can do their first AI project. And we matched them with a startup, Another Brain, and they did a very nice project using computer vision to controlling a quality of production in producing this little bottles with the dental product. So this was very much applied, and we like doing projects like this. In a very different field, we are doing a project on fake news for companies and organizations of the media industry, and we will apply all the knowledge of the cyber security industry we have in our working group and connect it to applying it to the special issues of the media industry to industrialize fact-checking for these companies. So this is also very much applied, and we try to be really a hub that is connecting experiences from different fields to make it profitable for all people. So I can mention many more. In construction, we are trying to see how AI can enhance security on building sites, but also project management in the building field, and also the building information model that is developing very much, and where data has to be checked before entering the model, and where there has to be also AI can be used to make the models of the beam coherent with one another. We are also working in the field of human resources to see make a landscape of all the uses of AI for the field of human resources now, 2021, and in the future, anticipating future uses. So these are some examples.
Thank you, Gaël. Thank you very much. I see that we still have 10 minutes left. Maybe I will reach to Matthias and Clemens, see if we have some questions from the audience. And if needed, we also have, oh, okay, they appear right in front of us. Okay, let's start with the first one. Does Hub France AI also consult the French government or president's office? I have the impression they are very keen on bringing forward European AI. Gaël, I guess it's a question for you.
So we work closely with the national public authorities in a partnerial way. We are supportive to the financing opportunities they give to members of our ecosystem. We are also looking very closely to the agenda of the European Commission. We had been members of the high-level expert groups on AI, and we are now preparing a joint response to the regulation project that has been issued by the European Commission. We are setting a national task force with the Hub Francia ecosystem, but also connecting to our European partners, especially those mentioned by Clemens initially, those of the European AI Forum community. I hope I answered the question.
I think so, yes. Thank you very much, Gaël. Arnaud, I see that there is also a question for you. Could you maybe list the countries where Preligence is already working? And because you mentioned the area, but one of our viewers asked in which country you're already working.
Yeah, so right now our system is operational in France, in the UK, in the US, with NATO, and more recently with the European Union institution. So those are 5 countries.
Okay, thank you.
Or international organizations.
All right. Okay, I understand. About this European Union or European cooperation, Gaël, you mentioned it. Arnaud, you are part of various programs. For instance, I saw that Preligence is a member of the Pioneer project from the European Commission. Maybe, Arnaud, you could explain us what is this project, and maybe it can also interest Austrian companies. I know that they are not Austrian member in this project, but who knows, maybe in the future.
Yes, I think this project was a clear message that the EU understands that the countries that will not master AI capabilities and have the ability to integrate that in their defense capability will be lagging behind at a global scale in global competition. So for the first year, when they started this European Defense Fund, there was a big focus on AI, and we went together as lead with Telespazio, which is an Italian company, a consortium bringing together companies from 6 different countries in Europe to build over 2 years technology or product that combines forces of companies across Europe. If you want to be good in AI, you need to be narrow in application. You need to have a clear focus on use case. So there is really a lot of room for partnerships when we talk about bringing together AI capabilities, because each company will have a specific domain and topic where it will be excellent. So that's really what we have been able to put together, joining forces from companies across Europe for AI for defense.
Okay, thank you, Arnaud. Just reacting to what you said, focusing on one topic, is it the way you created Preligence at the beginning? You knew from the beginning that you would focus on defense and intelligence, or was it more, okay, let's see what we can do with AI and test different fields?
Our initial focus was to look at the market for analysis of satellite imagery. Just after a few months, we realized that like 90% of the existing markets for satellite data, for buying satellite data, was military. So we very quickly focused on that market because it's very specific constraints. Our software has to run on-premise. We are not allowed to look at the data from the customer. And we are not allowed to know what their site of interest are. So our AI software has to be really to be really efficient and work with the highest level of accuracy. So that kind of expectation is very specific to our industry, and would not really be required for other applications. So we decided to be very focused on that market. And progressively, we are extending our activity. We remain applied for the defense sector, but we will add other type of data on top of satellite imagery. I mentioned drone video earlier. There are also airborne data that we can analyze, and so on and so forth. So we leverage our core competency, technical competency in AI. We apply it still on the same field of activity, but with different types of data.
Thank you. Thank you, Arnaud. Another question from the chat to Gaël. Does Hub France IA also helps foreign society that want to target the French market, or can a foreign company be member of Hub France IA?
Of course, it does. I don't know what is meant by foreign. We accept naturally any European company. That is for sure. We really have this focus that we want European AI to be an AI model in the world, not only for Europeans, even for third parties. So this is really important. We can, of course, have other companies, not non-European companies, join in, as long as they accept and are aligned with this vision we have. This is it hasn't appeared yet. Well, some companies we don't accept because they are not aligned with our values. But if they are, I think they can contact us and perhaps join in very well.
All right, thank you very much. Also, I remind the audience that if the question came from Austria, there is also AI Austria that can help AI company in the field, so in Austria directly. Okay, we are coming to the end of this presentation. I will maybe ask our guest one word about AI in France. What would be the main asset in France regarding AI? Gaël, maybe I'll start with you, and then Arnaud, you'll give us the conclusion word.
I would say it's the strengths of our startup ecosystem, the variety of startups in many, many fields of AI, connected also to the strong quality of our research development in AI in France, also in fundamental research, and supported this AI startup ecosystem by strong public policies.
Thank you, Arnaud. What would be for you, in your point of view, the assets of France regarding AI?
Yes, I would like as well to insist on the quality of the talent pool here in France. We have a very strong engineer, a very large workforce, very knowledgeable in AI. We have very strong links between universities on companies, on the world-leading universities in AI. So that's really a strength to gain very quickly a very strong technology advantage to compete on the global markets.
Thank you very much. Matthias, Clemens, I'll give you the final word. And again, thank you very much, Arnaud and Gaël, for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gaël, Arnaud, and Melchior, for this insight into the French AI ecosystem and into all the possibilities that also startups have for realizing their AI use cases, be it for the public sector or for the private sector. This was very interesting and a great addition to the first day's panel with Shea Tegas. Thank you so much. Best wishes to you. And you already mentioned Austria. I have to do a lead over to our next panel. So thank you to Paris. And we will have a look into the Austrian AI ecosystem now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you and bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Au revoir.
Merci. Au revoir.
All right. So, and yeah, Clemens, actually, first of all, happy birthday. Clemens, it's your birthday today. So I already congratulated you in the morning. So to all our audience, send birthday wishes to Clemens. It's his special day. And we met actually in 2017 when Advantage Austria was preparing a kind of article on AI in Austria in our magazine. And Clemens actually did a landscape on what is going on in the AI scene in Austria and really put on the map the different Austrian players that develop AI services and work with AI. And that was actually the start for something that Clemens has been updating several times a year, the Austrian AI landscape. Mm-hmm. This was basically this also the kind of a little bit the start for AI Austria, which you are the chairperson of.
It was funnily as well through the Advantage Austria, because we co-organized the event in November 2017 with Hermann Hauser. And during the preparation talks, Hauser had the idea, yeah, let's make a non-profit, and this is where we are 4 years later. So you could say it's the wishes keep coming in. Thank you, Jan.
Jan from the US Embassy. Thank you very much.
It basically became a hobby that became very large over time. So, but yeah, so let's dive into the AI ecosystem.
Right. I will leave the stage to you and also to Patrick Rathheiser,
who will join us after I give a brief ecosystem overview.
Right. And let's see how that works.
So, yeah, camera number 2.
I give you the stage.
Flip and and you have to add the presentation. Excellent.
Excellent.
So, well, as Matthias already mentioned in the introduction, in the next couple of minutes, I would like to give you an overview of the Austrian AI ecosystem. or let's say AI in Austria along these three views. One is the ecosystem itself, then how does it compare internationally, and last but not least, what is going on a strategy and policy level, both national and local. So let's start with the ecosystem. This Austrian AI landscape that Matthias described before, we've been doing now since 4 years. So this year's huge update will come again. Over the time, of course, it was growing. When we started, there were around 50 players inside. Now it's above 250. I'm quite confident by the end of the year, we will have more than 300. What is a little bit different from probably other similar ecosystem or landscape views is that not only we include startups, but also universities and public organizations which are boosting the ecosystem. So when it comes to an analysis of this, the first question that always comes up, especially from, let's say, from our international guests, is where are actually the AI hotspots in Austria? And we try to visualize this on this map. Unsurprisingly, because of the huge concentration or the geographic distribution, around 50% of the startups are actually located in Vienna. So for those of you who are interested, there's also a zoom in where in Vienna exactly the startups are. This is very unsurprising. What is, however, quite interesting is that the fast follower regions, or I would say the other two hubs of AI in Austria, are located in Styria and in Upper Austria. And this is insofar interesting as this directly correlates with the R&D expenditures, like the R&D per provincial GDP. This is one-to-one correlation with the figures from the OECD. Why is it the case that these two provinces also have such a strong AI ecosystem? In the case of Graz or Styria, which is to the south, it has to do with the fact that the automotive cluster is there. So you have lots of technology companies like AVL that you've seen yesterday, or like Left Shift One that you will see after my talk. And this has been going on for quite some time. When it comes to Upper Austria, the main driver here is definitely the JKU Linz and the Software Competence Center Hagenberg, which are research institutions. And by far the most famous researcher in Austria is Sepp Hochreiter, who also wrote the most cited paper on AI worldwide. So in total, in Austria, we have around 120 startups. And how about growth? This is a graphic we update once a year to show is the growth slowing down or so on. The only thing interesting here to mention is that although COVID hit hard last year, we still did not suffer in Austria from startup attrition. This means that let's say that many startups go out of business, but yet you have a flattening of the curve, but it's not turning negative. So starting from this year, it will be a normal growth rate again between 10 and 20%. When it comes to what are the startups actually doing, we found this segmentation very helpful, which is also used by our partner organizations in Germany and Israel, for example. The way this is sliced means around 57% of the startups here, they are offering a service that is aimed directly at one specific industry. So this could be manufacturing, could be agriculture, and so on. Next one is AI tech stack. This means that that the customers of these startups are other technology companies because they're creating base technologies to use for others. Enterprise function means think of controlling, think of sales and marketing, and enterprise intelligence is what you would have called, let's say, big data analytics a couple of years ago and reporting. Of course, explaining this one in 5 minutes is totally impossible. So let me give you just one fact on the way that you probably might remember. Austria is also home to the R&D organizations of the large international IT companies, from the United States. So namely, in the middle of the graphic, what is here named Mapillary is actually on the Facebook. So Facebook is doing its research on mobile mapping in Graz in Styria. The same is true for Amazon Prime Air, which you see on the lower right circle. It's also conducted in Graz. It's about the autonomous navigation and hazard detection for drones. And last but not least, Snapchat, this is especially for the younger audience, even Snapchat is doing AR and image recognition for the AR systems here in Austria. So yeah, Matthias will also show you, or we will show you later in the banner, where you can get all this information with a deep dive, because a couple of minutes are definitely not enough. All this information is free of charge to download. So how about international comparison? You might be aware of international rankings like this one, which was published by Roland Berger a couple of years ago. The reason why I'm showing this is in average, the Austrian figures tend to be on the lower end, or in this case, on the very low end. So you might now ask the question, how is it possible that the international benchmarks show 5 to 10 startups and the guy on the stage is telling me there are 100 startups? There is actually a quite simple explanation for this. More or less all international rankings are based on private investments. This means, let's say, if Matthias is investing 100,000 euro in me, I would be listed in one of these databases like Crunchbase and AngelList. But if I receive a public grant, let's say from the city of Vienna or from the Austrian government, I would not be listed. And since more than 50% of the AI startups that you saw in the landscape received a government grant at a certain point of time, which are very often in the 6-digit range, or even almost hitting 7 digits, they are never shown in international rankings. So yeah, I hope you don't think this is like a lame excuse, but it is really one of the main reasons that many companies just have to look for funding quite late in their life cycle, not early on. So how about, or let's say the last point, how about strategy and policy? Yeah, you might be aware that over the last 2 or 3 years, almost every country has released their own AI strategy. And for those of you that know Asterix, the Asterix comics, there's one country that has not released an AI strategy, Austria. Why is that the case? Yeah, there are numerous reasons. There were several government changes, plus the AI strategy in Austria is parked, or let's say there are 2 ministries in charge of the AI strategy, which also brings more friction than you have in other countries. Yeah, namely, these are the 2 ministries, just in case you want to get in touch. We will also distribute the slides later on. But this led to I must say, quite interesting development in Austria. So while on a national level, actually, there's quite a gridlock, the regions have picked up the slack. So for example, the city of Vienna released their AI strategy 2 years ago, and they are now in full implementation phase. You have similar things in the second largest province, or in the largest province in Lower Austria, in Carinthia, also with Fraunhofer Institute together. So on a local level, there are many things happening. Additionally, on an institutional level, this means public institutions, there is also lots of stuff going on. I mean, Chamber of Commerce being one of them. For example, especially aimed at small and medium enterprises, the Ministry for Digitalization launched together with the AWS, this is the Austria Business Service, not Amazon, AWS, they launched the AI marketplace where, let's say, mostly small and medium enterprises can get in touch with AI providers. So, and this brings me to the end of my part. I would now hand directly over to Patrick Rateiser from Left Shift One. Hi, Patrick.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Loud and clear, that's fine. So, good, and you should see my screen. So that's fine, yeah. Good, yeah, happy birthday, Clemens. Good, then I will start. Thank you very much, Clemens, for your introduction and an overview about the AI ecosystem in Austria. And yeah, my name is Patrick, and I'm one of the founder and CEO of Left Shift One. And today I would like to give you a short overview of how Left Shift One is positioned in this AI ecosystem. And for this, it is important to address 2 topics. One is about the technology, and the other is about the method, so bringing AI into production. And therefore, the topic of hyper-automation is a very important aspect, and how we get the AI things done. And so first of all, who is Left Shift One? We were founded in 2017, and now we have just 40 employees, and we have offices in Graz and Munich. And are expanding into Switzerland and the Netherlands. And since Left Shift 1 was founded, we have invested all our knowledge in the field of AI, in our AI operating system in order to put AI solutions into productive. We are very proud to be one of the top 30 AI companies in the entire GSA region, according to the Forbes magazine. So at Left Shift 1, we stand for symbiotic artificial intelligence. That means we believe in the positive interaction of human and machines. That means human and machines and not human or machines. This is very important in this case. Our goal is to develop AI solutions together with our customers that generate a sustainable, positive return of investment and business value. In comparison to standard solutions in the AI sector, we think that our business model is a new and disruptive way due to our independence from the industry. In order to develop disruptive solution in the field of AI, it's essential to involve the customer in the development process or to enable the customer to manage the development process by their own. It is essentially that the customer brings in his domain knowledge. So let's take a look into detail at the expected revenues of the entire AI market. And according to a study by IDC in February of 2021, we have a market volume from $327 billion worldwide. The expected average market growth in the next few years until 2024 is more than 16%. And 88% is the revenue from the software industry. So as shown in the feature, the average growth, two existing areas are very interesting. That is the growth of AI applications and the AI platform market. That sounds good, of course. But why could it also be a problem? Because when we will have to develop many AI applications in the futures, but we don't have the relevant specialists like the data scientists and machine learning engineers. The solution is that we use AI platforms so that citizen developers or companies can use AI independently without a deep understanding of AI. Therefore, there's a direct link between AI applications and AI platforms and cannot be considered separately. So next step will be to compare AI applications with AI platforms in detail. So 50% of the revenue, and as the largest part, is generated in the area of AI applications, but the growth in the area of AI platform is the highest. This means that in the future, there will be a connection between disruptive AI applications and their implementations with AI platforms in order to be sustainable, successful. AI applications are called business service and are associated with resources that are simply not available on the market. Therefore, AI platform will be used in the future to cover this lack of resources of these data scientists and machine learning engineers. Now take a look to the Gartner trends 2021. One is AI engineering, finally develop AI applications. The second trend is hyperautomation. So although hyperautomation doesn't sound like AI platform, but it is. If you want to solve end-to-end issues, AI platforms must also support end-to-end processes. These extensions of AI platform with process automation is necessary for that. In the end, the goal must always be to generate a positive return of investment through AI. So let's make the connection in between process automation and AI. Automation without AI by using RPA, so robot process automation, are projects that are only 46% successful. And when we look at the core of this technology, it's really just about cleaning up the technical debt of legacy systems. But future software implementations or systems will become more powerful and we will work more and more with defined APIs. So 54% on the other hand are unsuccessful automation projects. Much worse, they are more expensive and do not deliver the expected return of investment. From a knowledge management perspective, I don't get any knowledge either, because in the near future, no one will know how this process robots really works. The goal can only be to bring AI into this perspective, and we are seeing this more and more in the market. If we bring AI this perspective into the picture, we will see that the AI can increase the success rate of automation projects from end-to-end perspective to 90%. So, however, this means that we must bring a lot of AI knowledge into current solution in order to be successful. Good, so let's take a look in the whole market of this ecosystem and start with automation. Of course, we know there are companies in the automation APR market that are trying to solve problems using APR and business process modeling via workflow engineering. In the future, they will need to know how to run and operate AI models successful. That bring us to the keyword MLOps, so machine learning operation platforms. Have to integrate as well machine learnings models end-to-end into a business process, on the other hand. Soon we will have to deal with composite AI because different use cases must be addressed in the future. It's not longer sufficient to address only one application, but the combination of many models is necessary. And last but not least, the vertical vendors will have to offer their solutions such as predictive maintenance or natural language understanding in different industries. What we recognize is that a lot of advantages of these individual areas will be combined in the hyper-automation market to generate a competitive advantage for our customers. So the future is now. AI is in use and we will be used more and more to generate competitive advantages. Therefore, it is important to focus on the future-proof technology. AI applications and hyper-automation is in place. We will see that we need to deploy a lot of machine learning models in the enterprise environment, so ML operation is required. We will see that we have to combine different applications and machine learning models, so composite AI is required as well. And we will also see we must deal with explainability, with explainable AI solutions to derive actions, so explainable AI have to be in place. The next step of AI will be in the next slide. The future depends on the combination of AI solutions compared to the human brains. The combination of our skill makes us intelligence. Bringing the different departments together and learning from each other to create the real value. If you think about that, you would have to use a separate software for each use case along the whole value chain, train the employees and connect all applications to get a complete overview. You should recognize that many isolated solutions will not lead to success. So the keyword is IT governance. We need to stop using isolated solutions to take advantage of this. We must enable the companies to use AI independently and sustainably. Yeah, the key to disruptive solution depends not on the individual capability, but in the combination of different AI applications. So AI will help companies save billions of dollars in costs every year. So you could say it's a wonderful vision for our industry. So welcome to a brave new world. But 70% of all AI projects do not make it into production, or only 10% of AI projects are extended. The reasons are different. So the lack of resources and know-how, projects are too complex, development, deployment, operations as well in the continuous further deployment of ML models cannot be managed. Explainability and trustworthiness are not given, therefore a sustainable use is not desired. The multitude of different standalone solutions is not manageable, and the most important thing is technology alone cannot solve all problems. So yeah, the key to success does not come from the use of technology alone. It must be a symbiosis between man and machines. The technology is only the first step. The method of bringing AI into production is the second step. So how does LeftShift1 deal with that? We come from the age of software development and we can reuse this method. It only takes 2 small changes without changing the whole organization. The keyword is multidisciplinary teams. I will provide you how we deal that in our company. The first step is to look and how we want to deal with data management. The best case will be all data are available and it's easy to use. That will never happen. In the most cases, we need to prepare data for data analysis. Often the data is basically there, but not structured, but AI can help in this area as well. In many cases, we don't have any data, so we must collect it in the first step. So the whole cycle starts with the data collection, the data analysis, and the selection, and finally the data transformation. In this cycle, we need our data scientists. machine learning modeling, the next cycle after data management, deals with classical feature engineering, model training, and evaluation. This process is iterative and can and will be repeated to find a suitable model. However, if we look at the open source market, there are amazing models and algorithms already available that can we use. We don't always have to reinvent the wheel, but of course we have to retrain the models. For that, we need our machine learning engineers. Yeah, the agile software development process has been around for years, and of course we have to code, build, and test before we can release the application, but this is actually nothing new. The last step is the operation of machine learning models and the operation of the AI application itself. It is important that we see the whole application in the overall context, and that an AI application cannot stand alone, but it is integrated in the whole end-to-end process. After the application is released, we have to deploy, we have to operate, we have to monitor it in the production environment, and automated test sets with the addition of monitoring the ML models, which are continuous improving. So now let's come up with the whole process. These two small changes happen at the beginning. We need to create multidisciplinary team approach. Start with the data science, integrate machine learning, create the solutions, operate the solutions. The goal is to integrate the data scientists and machine learning engineers into the DevOps approach, and therefore establish the following method. The goal is of the method to combine these 4 steps into one and bring them together, all the necessary stakeholders. Every AI application starts with the vision, the goals, and the definition of requirements, and afterwards we do the data management, the machine learning modeling. These are the 2 little changes what we have to do. And the next step will be the software development and operation to get disruptive AI solutions. But the most important factor is to integrate the customer in the process. He has the necessary domain knowledge and understands his needs and pains best. He needs to be involved in every step to make AI applications successful and sustainable. Good. Now let's bring us technology and methods together and develop disruptive AI solutions in symbiosis of human and machine. We will not able to cover the worldwide demand of data scientists or machine learning engineers, but we can provide citizen developers tools or enable them to do that on their own. Our clients develop and deploy disruptive AI solution powered by the AI operating system from Left Shift 1, and I will go a little bit deeper in that. So we have developed an independent operating system for artificial intelligence that can be used by citizen data scientists, machine learning engineers, and DevOps engineers. With the operating system, we bring these stakeholders together to build AI applications. The customer is the business analyst and is in the focus as well. So in detail, we have our marketplace. I'll go a little bit deeper in this feature. The internal marketplace, what we offer is like an app store. AI-based models from text, image understanding to big data and cluster analysis are available. The marketplace is open for certified third-party vendors and to the fast exchangeability of machine learning models, and the customer always gets access to the latest machine learning technologies. The AI-based models are pre-trained and then still need to be adapted to the customer, of course. This happens within the project, but it is much faster if we have to build it from scratch, and each model has the functionality execute, so execute the model inference, then train the model and explain. The model explains itself. This also brings me to the compatibility of AI models. So the keyword in this case is composite AI. What is possible too? Customers can use our graph-based workflow engine, which combines the end-to-end processes with artificial intelligence. Customers are able to configure their own AI solutions by our user admin interface. Based on this graph database technology, unlimited scaling and parallelization of business processes are possible. The development speed of ML models is huge. Therefore, our customers must be able to exchange the model from time to time. So, like during the operation without having adopt the whole process. So, if you like an operation on the heart surgery. In addition, training pipelines can be configured very easy to enable continuous learning for further development of machine learning models. Based on this technology and method, we create together with our customers, our software integrators, an AI prototype. And we're starting with the kickoff meeting, define the use case and the goals, analyze the data. And based on the operating system, we are able to create a prototype in 30 days that can be evaluated by the clients and immediately generate business value. The advantage of this approach is obvious, to generate added value in the shortest possible time with low fixed costs. We want to keep the end of the year for our customers as low as possible and minimize the risk.
Dear Patrick, I am sorry to interrupt, but we are almost at the end of our session. So I want to
have the last word, the last slide. Yeah.
No, we are already at the end of the session. But quick last word, yeah.
Quick last word. The last word, the last slide is today. What I want to share the points with you is technology is only the first step. The method is a part of it, and stop starting and start finishing. Thank you.
Wonderful. And just a quick question to you two.
Yeah.
If there's one key takeaway our audience will take with them after watching this panel on the Austrian AI landscape, what is a special strength or a special feature or a special product or services that the Austrian AI industry, so to say, can do very well? Clemens and Patrick, your short take on this.
Short take. What's special about Austria? I would say it's the diversity. It's like the breadth of the ecosystem. You have it from agriculture and AI silicon up to young enterprise companies like we just heard. And the good thing is this is all backed by research. So you have lots of research institutions here. And I think this combination makes it very special. So our specialty is that we don't have a specialty.
Mm-hmm. Patrick,
I think that as well, the collaboration with the research institutes and also the collaboration between the startups. So there's one point, and I think the next big point is that it's possible in Austria that we get public funding to create these products, because it's not possible to get the big fundings from other countries, what we see. So the ecosystem in general is very good for creating such solutions. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm very sorry we have to cut this short, but we have our next speakers already waiting. Patrick and of course Clemens will be available to get in touch over our meeting platform. There have been many questions and many birthday wishes to you as well. And many thanks to Patrick and Clemens as well for their presentation. Thank you very much and best wishes from Vienna.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And without further ado, it's my special pleasure to welcome two of my colleagues in our Advantage Austria offices in Sofia, Bulgaria, and Bucharest in Romania. We are always having many participants joining our Applied AI conferences from these two countries, which is why we want to have a special look on the AI ecosystems in Bulgaria and Romania for the next 45 minutes. So please welcome my colleague Ulrike Stracker. She is the Austrian Trade Commissioner in our office in Sofia, Bulgaria, and Gerd Bommer, the Austrian Trade Commissioner in Bucharest, Romania. Hello, and without further ado, I would hand over the stage to you for you to introduce your speakers, of which you have many. And we see each other a little bit later for the Q&A. Ulrike and Gerd.
Thank you, Matthias. Hi, Clemens and Gerd. This is about AI in Bulgaria and Romania and what contributions these two countries give to the development of AI in the world. I would like to show a picture right now. Matthias, if you can post it. You may know that AI has been helping to develop tools to shorten the time for developing drugs. So there is one Bulgarian company, Mikar21, that is in the top 200 in the world active in this field, and it shortens the development for certain medicines from 18 months to just 4 weeks. So these are some of the things that we want to explore, and I will hand over to Gerd for the introduction of his colleagues.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ulrike Stracker, my colleague from Sofia, Bulgaria. And here we are from Romania. Good morning to everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Have a good day. And I want to introduce our speakers from Romania. Today we have with us Gabriel Prefac. Gabriel Prefac is one of the founders and active members of AI Romania, the Romanian AI Association. He is also contributing as a technology expert to the development of a national strategic framework for AI, which is run by the Romanian Authority for Digitization and the Technical University at Cluj-Napoca. Gabriel works as a business transformation and automation manager for BTEC Plus. And the second speaker that we have with us from Romania, I'm very happy to have him as well, is Radu Ionescu. Radu Ionescu is CTO at Securify and professor at the University of Bucharest. He's the recipient of the 2014 award for outstanding doctoral research. Not only that, he also received the Danubius Young Scientist Award 2018 for Romania, and this he received by the Austrian Federal Ministry of Education, Science and Research and the Institute for the Danube Region and Central Europe. He has published over 90 scientific articles and is a very well experienced speaker for us today with his own startup. And with this, I would like to hand back to Uli Straka, my colleague from Sofia, to introduce your speakers.
Thank you. With me today are Mr. Kaloyan Radchev. Kaloyan, I think you're joining us from Vienna. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. That's true. That's true. I am like a born Bulgarian, but I live very long in Vienna, so I'm joining from Vienna, not from Sofia this time.
Yes, and Kaloyan is a founding board member of both the Bulgarian AI Cluster and the Bulgarian FinTech Association. He's part of Trending Topics, but he's also running his own company, Vangavis. Yeah, and Kaloyan, I think with you, the interesting thing is also to see how you combine the two worlds, Bulgaria and Austria, and what we can get from this cooperation, or what how everybody could benefit from this cooperation. Christina Ashkenazi is with me in Sofia. Christina?
Hey. Hi.
Hi.
Great to be here.
Nice to see you. Christina, you are a PR and communication specialist. You are an entrepreneur. You are also the chairwoman of the Bulgarian Health and Life Science Cluster. You are managing, or you are a member of the managing board of the Bulgarian AI Cluster as well. And
Right.
I'm looking forward to hearing some examples of what Bulgarian companies are doing in the AI. Okay, so before we go into the topics themselves, I would like to address you, our listeners and viewers, and ask you to participate in the chat. I would like to ask you, as you can see in the text that's moving, please join us on slido.com with the hashtag AICC. Oh no, what am I saying? What is the hashtag exactly? AAIC21. And enter the Slido and ask your questions, and we will answer them towards the end of the session. Matthias, we could also do kind of a question round with our audience beforehand. So where are you joining us from? Just try out the Slido. This is just to get you activated and communicating with us. So you could just copy the slido.com into your browser and open and enter with the AAIC21 hashtag and see if it's working for you. Okay, I think we should, is this already the final result? Not quite yet. We see some people still entering. Okay, folks, we've got a lot of people joining from the home office and some people outside. Anyway, we will be moving into the topic now, and Gert, I'll ask you to start with the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Uli. Thanks very much. And as we have Gabriel with us here from Romania, Gabriel is, as I said before, a member of the Romanian AI Association. Gabriel, I hope you had a great day so far. And I would like to ask you to start up with us and give us a bit more of a frame. What is the framework and what kind of framework are you working on in Romania for AI?
Yeah, thanks, Gerd. I will start with an overall picture on Romania with some strengths and challenges that we have as a country and affect directly the development of AI solutions and the adoption of the AI solution. So if we look at what is happening now, we have some strengths that we are capitalizing on, like education. We have more than 30% graduations in STEM, which is higher than European average. We have, let's say, a lack of legacy technologies, and that makes us evolve faster in some areas. We have affordable access to internet. We have a growing tech ecosystem, increased venture capital. I mean, venture capital increased 5 times in the last 4 years. And we start seeing clusters organized around key technologies. So those are the strengths that we can build upon. On the other hand, we have some challenges that are common to Romania and also other Eastern European countries. Like we have the size of the local market, which is quite small. And so it's difficult, I don't know, to find a beta customer that could be useful for a startup, for example. We, generally speaking, in various industries, we are at the lower end of the global value chain. Sometimes we mostly do outsourcing. We have significant differences between quality of life between regions, and that is encouraging people to leave Romania. And that's, I think, the biggest problems that we have in Romania, in Eastern Europe. It's the brain drain that we are losing a lot of people, mainly to Western Europe. And even though the venture capital is growing, it's still an issue that we don't have access to capital. In terms of community, AI Romania started around 3 years ago, around the Romanian, so the initiators were an organization of local entrepreneurs called Romanian Business Leaders, and a group of Romanians that are specialists in AI, but they work outside Romania. So as you can see, basically it started from the challenges that we have. I mean, Romanians who left Romania wanted to do something back, and the local entrepreneurs saw that they have low chances to adopt and develop AI, and they started working together. And of course, we have now our colleagues in academia, and we have a community that is working in, I would say we have one vision that in Romania, we should do everything we can in order to use the available technologies in order to make people's lives better. So, because I think that's what we need in the end. And anyway, the quality of life in Romania is quite low compared to other regions in Europe. So having this in mind, what we are doing, we are growing the community with a yearly event that's called AI Romania Days, and regional events, actually conferences in various industries. So we want to popularize AI around different industries in order to increase adoption rate. We are engaging with central authorities in developing strategies for Romania. And I think that helps a lot, and we started to have a good partnership with the government. And we are developing solutions to help local startups and local companies to implement AI. And in terms of, I'll give you examples of three examples of projects that we have, and we are currently running. We have a project that is called AI for high schools, and we have prepared the curriculum for high school students. We are in a pilot phase in order to see how it works. We are popularizing AI with the help of a famous vlogger on technology in Romania, and we want to see the feedback from the general public, let's say. And we're also working to improve everything we need for natural language processing for Romanian language, because I think that it's a key element in order to put in production solutions that can help people. And last but not least, I will say that our community, Romania, it's 100% based on volunteers, so we don't get funds from the government or any other public money. We have started this year ago, as you said. We're seeing constant progress, not dramatic progress, and looking forward to what is going to come now that Romania is also working on the national framework for intelligence. Thanks.
All right, Gabriel, thank you very much for the comprehensive overview and the introduction. So we see that we are rather at the start of everything, we're building it up, but Romania is the third biggest business process outsourcing market in the world after China and India, and that already gives us kind of an idea where Romania can go to. But we're not here only for Romania, we're also here for Bulgaria, so we'd like to hand over to Uli. Uli, what about Bulgaria?
Yes, Kaloyan, please tell us a bit about the Bulgarian policy and also infrastructure in AI.
Yes, thank you. I would like also to start with a little bit from the historic part that artificial intelligence and the ecosystem in Bulgaria, like in other Eastern European countries, came from a strong source for mathematicians and later IT developers, which itself developed to mentioned outsourcing destinations. So the Bulgarian ecosystem currently is about 100 to 150 companies which are developing using artificial intelligence. Most of them are young ones, startups and similar. But of course, there are also some larger corporates and international players, like we had yesterday Financial Times here. They have research and development offices and other high potential companies. Regarding the so-called framework, we have, as we see, we are part of the EI cluster, which is a 2-year-old NGO. We connect within the country different stakeholders of the AI ecosystem from different industries, from academia, with government. This is one part of our job, and the other part is to communicate with the international partners. Here, for example, with Austria and the European AI Forum, where we are also active. Like the colleagues from Romania mentioned, Bulgaria has always also the diaspora topic. A lot of bright minds are out in the world. Currently, there is some kind of change where they start to contribute or give back know-how, ideas, experiences. So there is a good mix, a good exchange. Next to the AI cluster, we have several structures in academia. For example, to mention GATE, which are university team of organizations working in the field of AI. I would say we have a good basis of experts as well as infrastructure, like supercomputers. Christina will mention that as well. What we don't have in that much is a AI-focused venture fund. Currently, the venture fund system is split in different funds who invest in AI on different levels, but not specifically. I don't say that it's must, but there is also no specific acceleration program or something for it. So there is some room to improvement. And also there are some strengths in the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, I also hear that one of the most excellent supercomputers will be placed in Sofia. Christina?
Yeah, hi. Actually, I'm very glad to share this fantastic news. In Bulgaria, so far, we have one supercomputer in Bulgarian Academy of Science, which is Avitoho. And recently, Sofia Tech Park started to work over creation of and position of a first petascale computer in our region. So it is good news for all the ecosystem. When I heard about news from the colleagues from Romania, and I'm very happy to be here with them. Of course, I heard a lot of common challenges, difficulties and problems, but also we have a lot of advantages. Being a small country means that we know each other, we trust each other, and we have a fantastic opportunity to create sustainable regional ecosystem, which is covered over the cross-industry, cross-sectoral methodology. The colleague mentioned about the STEM division. They are really fantastic. Also, as a woman, I can't skip one of the good statistics from our region, that actually Bulgaria, Romania, Lithuania, we are on the first places according to statistics that showing and pointing the females taking position over 25% of the people that are dealing with the science and technology are actually female. So it's good news from our region, and I'm sure that we can contribute for development of a different solution in, for example, computer vision, as we all know, and some of the panelists from yesterday mentioned this issue. So I'm sure that we can contribute. I want to add something else. We are quite focusing on a solution. Yeah, for sure, something that is missing on our whole region is those expertise and focus and investment when it comes to a deep technology. Most of the time it's connected with a lack of understanding and expertise. So Bulgarian AI ecosystem, we are welcoming all the partners who want to join us and to think for solutions. Right now we are working over creation of such a fund, and of course venture studio models, which are probably one of the most working models that existing when it comes to a deep technology, cross industry and sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Gerd.
Yeah, all right. Taking over, we heard about the framework of AI ecosystems here in Romania and in Bulgaria. And with Radu Ionescu, very warm welcome. Thank you for being here with us. I would like to take a dive into what does it actually mean living in this framework and founding your own startup, Securify, and starting up an AI startup here in Romania. What are the challenges? And one question that already came up by our viewers is, actually, the salaries of the software developers are pretty good already in Romania. So is the problem of the brain drain as strong as before? So please, could you give us the insight into what is it to found a startup here in Romania, an AI startup? And what is it with your employees? Do you have enough employees? Is the STEM or the STEM universities producing enough employees, future employees for you? Radu.
Sure. Thank you for the question and thank you for the invitation. So first, I will start a bit with the history of maybe AI in Romania. So I have experience since 10 years ago in the university and in research. So I know that the students, at least the number of students that want to do AI and that want to specialize in this domain, has at least increased by 4 times since 10 years ago. So it's I think a significant increase in people wanting to do to work in this domain, and so we have more people that are having expertise in AI, and this also comes to cover some of the demand from the market. So there are more and more jobs right now that are asking for experience in machine learning, in AI, and so on. So, but I still think that there is a lack of experts. So, although the number of students have increased, also the number of jobs have increased in the same rate. I could say exponential rate. So when I first started working in the industry, it was in 2012. And I think there were just a few jobs. I could count on my hand the number of jobs in AI that were back then. And we started our startup in 2016, and also there were some other startups in the same time. So we already had some competition, but right now I think the number of startups is growing more and more. I think last year I also was in a panel as an evaluator in a pitching for AI startups, pitching to get funding. So there was a special round of funding organized by one of the investors in Romania, of the angel investors that wanted to fund only AI startups. So it's clearly growth in the field, in the number of startups, in the number of jobs, and people are starting to work more and more in this domain. And this also is beneficial for the university, so we can we train more and more students. So it's going on an ascending path until now, but there is still, I think, this gap of lack of resources. So I think we still feel the brain drain in Romania. We hope, I think we can recover it in time, but we're not there yet.
Radu, just a bit of an add-on to the question that I gave in the very beginning. Do you feel that all the efforts of the government, all the efforts of the frameworks, to say, that you have, is supporting you right now much more than it did a few years ago?
Not as much. So I also had experience with working in other countries. So one of the most interesting experience was when I went in Abu Dhabi, and I know what kind of investment they have there for AI, and also in their connection with other Asian countries that also invest a lot of AI. So I think right now Eastern Europe is a bit behind. So we need, I think we need a large investment, not only Eastern Europe, but also at the European level, also other European countries. We need to invest more in AI if we want to not have a gap in research and in technology in AI.
All right, so we see that the Resilience Fund and the multi-annual framework should maybe focus not that much only on highways, but also much more on AI software development and the sector overall. Well, coming into, as we're already facing halftime of our panel, coming a bit more into the country, Gabriel, can you start up with a quick answer about what's the adoption rate of AI in Romania? Do you already see a lot of applications in Romania?
Yeah, we are at the beginning of finding a way to measure this. Roughly speaking, we can see that the adoption rate on the governmental level, so central agencies or local administrations, it's close to zero. If we look at the companies, we see that we have solutions that are in place, but mainly on large companies where decisions for implementing AI solution are not made in Romania, but are made at the group level. So we are lacking this. I'd say it's close to zero basically compared to the potential that the technology has. And I think besides the investment, what Radu said, that could be made by the governments, I think the second most important thing would be to ease the adoption rate, because there is a lot of place room to improve, and technology is there and can deliver results. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Gabriel. So much for Romania. Uli, what's the situation in Bulgaria?
Christina, Kalvian, what is your impression about adoption rate, or are there references that you can give of how Bulgarian authorities or companies use AI so far?
Sure, if I may start it with answering this question. Actually, this is the point of the ecosystem. Of course, 2 years ago, it was quite weak in Bulgaria. Again, the government is quite more slower than the business environment need, but being an ecosystem, working with so many experts in the different field, together we provide more solution to our government authorities. I can provide several examples. Of course, we take part of creation of our national strategy for artificial intelligence. We are part of the digital software projects, which is connected to adoption to new technology. Of course, we are part and supporting all the new coming digital innovation hubs in Bulgaria by supporting solutions from the AI field, but not only all the expertise that the ecosystem having. Of course, Kalyan mentioned very briefly about the GATE. Actually, this is the first center of excellence dedicated to artificial intelligence in our region. It is a fantastic project that providing opportunities to working over projects and being part of the digital twins in city center, which is founded by the Swedish Innovation Agency. And right now the creation of this center is starting really 5 days ago, which is amazing. Also, we are part and
just to briefly recap on that, digital twin means the city of Sofia is creating a digital twin for planning purposes and for urban development. Is that correct?
Correct. And digitalization, yeah. Providing fantastic solution for the companies. Also, we proactively working to have a process how the companies, AI newcomer companies, can be making their proof of concept into the administration, which is also something very significant. So I believe we are in a good path. We are proactively working with our authorities, and we observe that by being together, united as an ecosystem, is quite helpful. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kaloyan, do you have any remark on that, or we pass to the next round?
Maybe just to add regarding the adoption that currently they are in development through whole of Europe. These sandboxes will be more and more. AI sandboxes will come, I think, in every country, maybe also cross country. So this will give a boost to, at least on a European level and on a national level, for the ecosystems and for the interconnection of ecosystems.
Can you say what that is?
AI sandboxes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like in fintech or other destinations, is a testing field, I would say. For example, for startups or other organizations to test their algorithms, their solutions, their products in a safe environment before going to the market.
Yes. Okay. Thanks. Gerd, if it's okay with you, I would jump into the references, the use cases.
Yes, please start off with the use cases.
Okay, Christina, we are curious. I think this is the core and the most fascinating part of the panel today, at least from my perspective. Some of the important findings, developments.
Sure. Again, as I mentioned, cross-sectoral and cross-industry and cross-technology approach that we have actually provide unique opportunities to develop more innovative and more interesting innovation. I can provide an example coming from the cooperation between the AI cluster and biotech cluster. One of the most interesting companies that at the beginning, at the demo, you mentioned is Mikar21. It's a Bulgarian company which is half artificial intelligence by usage of in silico methodology and half, of course, traditional science. Actually, by usage of artificial intelligence, they managed to shortage the normal usual process of drug discovery from 18 months to 4 weeks, which is validated by nature. We believe and we continue, of course, to implement artificial intelligence into the next phases of drug discovery, and we observe a fantastic result. So this is one of the showcases. Also, again, coming to and putting my other hat as a chairwoman of a Health and Life Science Cluster Bulgaria. From Bulgaria, we started to work over a fantastic solution for the bioeconomy, for the Green Deal. I can point several examples coming with and solving the problems with the water issues. Probably you know that the World Health Organization saying that till 2025, more than half of the population of the Earth will live in a water stress area. So this problem is something that the specialists from the both sides, from the both sector, supposed to work together over creation of a new solution. I can mention about Innova H2O. This is a company which making a biosensor very small, you can put in your pocket, which are detecting actually the organic pollution into the water immediately in real time and sending, of course, GPS and predictions to the authorities which are dealing with this. We can imagine, of course, what a fantastic achievement is that. Of course, here I can mention also about Gridmetrics. It's a Bulgarian company which is making a real-time solution for supply pump control by also reducing the electricity usage, which is also very significant when we're talking about the new bioeconomy. Of course, we having companies which are dealing with monitoring the water economic element in the dams, which is also a significant problems coming from our region every year. When there is a rain, people are scared. Right now, I believe that this time are over. Also from the Bulgarian ecosystem, I can point several other very good examples. For example, HyperScience. So they are Bulgarian companies, but operate also in USA. And I was really glad to see that a week ago they were included into the Forbes list for America 50 promising AI, the most promising AI companies, which is fantastic for us. Of course, when it comes to Bulgaria, probably in Romania, I know also, we have a very, very good NLP traditions. We, of course, having the specialized that providing great solution for the large models, for example, for the Slavic languages group, which I believe that is something significant and can contribute a lot to European knowledge and to increase, of course, the understanding of our culture. Of course, we have a good tradition as similar as colleagues in Romania dedicated to education right now during the COVID crisis. Actually, the digital education going very well, and more and more solution coming from this. We have sports solutions, streaming solution, again with a very good recognition in Europe and USA, Asia, and other markets. Here I can.
I think we need to give some time to the Romanians too, but very, very interesting comments, very interesting input, because also in nature and Green Deal issues, this is important. Yeah, back to Romania.
Thank you very much. I was already completely fascinated by the ambition and the energy of Christina. And Gabriel told us before that in Romania, the adoption rate, especially in the public sector, is not extremely high. So I would like to hand over the question to Radu. Radu, could you give us some examples of use cases in Romania, and maybe also go quickly into the use case of Securify? What are you solving for the customers' problems?
Sure. Yeah, so we had, at the beginning, we had some problems convincing our clients that AI is not this bad guy or big brother that is trying to monitor you or to do bad things. So there are a lot of science fiction movies, and people think of AI as this science fiction thing that is going to destroy humanity. And yeah, back then we had to explain a lot of them that actually AI is something different. It can be used for good. It's not necessarily, it's not going to take over the computers and destroy anything. So yeah, we had a lot of discussions with clients, try to explain them what AI means. There were also some clients that had very high expectations, like so we know that any AI technology is not 100% accurate. It might make some mistakes, just as humans do mistakes. So we also had to explain them that it's not a perfect solution. It can be improved over time, but it's not going to work perfectly. So I think right now also the clients are getting, as AI becomes more and more popular, they also learn more things and they understand that it can be used and can be useful. So last year we had our first implementation of AI in a smart city solution where we monitor the streets in a city in Romania, the Câmpia Turzii, and we have this system that can monitor parking places, if people are parking on restricted areas, if they throw garbage on the street. I don't know, if they fight or do anything, I don't know, set up fires and so on. So we showed this project to different other cities, and now they are more and more interested. And we also have now another pilot project in a different city. So it was start. So it took a long time until we find the first client, but now they start to come to us and ask for, I want that thing. So yeah, it's going in a good direction, but the adoption rate is definitely increasing, I think.
So what you're saying is that the first successful examples actually generate the interest as well.
Yes.
If the interest is generated, well, we look at the digital currencies right now. We look at Bitcoin and all the topics that are being raised, like, you know, whether there should be a legal framework for that. Gabriel, if I may hand over the question to you in that sense, do you think that AI is a bit threatened by governments putting up some national regulations? Might it trigger governmental limitations, AI?
Yeah, we are following with a lot of interest what is happening at the European level. And we see, that at the European level, we are being very, very careful in order not to use this technology for bad purposes, which I think it's a good thing. On the other hand, I come back to this adoption rate, and I think the government should put the same effort, maybe more effort into adoption than into regulating what is happening with AI. And it's an effort that the governments can do with the community support, so they don't have to invest too much on themselves. We are doing the first steps here in Romania in order to explain this and to make sure that we make the most of this technology in order to improve people's life. And another thing here, I would say, I will come back to what Christina said about we as countries that we have similar characteristics, challenges, and strengths. What we don't have, though, we don't have an exercise of cooperation, of regional cooperation. Countries from Central Europe have this for historical reasons. We don't have it. And here we can do a lot. And if we manage ways to do things together, like Romania and Bulgaria, for example, I think we can also be involved in to have a stronger voice at the European level when we talk about regulation and easing adoption.
Thank you very much, Gabriel, for that. Just to inform everybody, we're entering the last 5 minutes of our panel here, which is very interesting. I'm very happy about it. But maybe, Uli, you want to take over, and maybe one of your speakers can also contribute a bit more into the threats that are being put up by, let's say, the European Union or the governments in terms of regulations or limitations. Uli.
Yes. Thank you, Gerd. And Christina and I spoke yesterday about the stand of some institutions on this. When I hear NLP and when I hear a municipality controlling certain areas where people are not doing the right things, either parking or maybe setting fire to a bin or something, then I'm also thinking about data protection and so. My question to you, Christina, how do those things how does this idea of data protection conflict with AI? Does it at all? And what are the other ideas when governments or EU are thinking about regulating AI?
Thank you for the question. First, a very brief thing I want to share. I believe that today we're having fantastic news. I believe that after this meeting with Romania colleagues, we will joining our forces to achieve our common goals, as it's obvious. So thank you for the organizers that support the production of this big news for us. When it comes to artificial intelligence, government policies, it's quite difficult because the policies are always behind the innovation, and sometimes they not only stop innovation, but they even prevent their creation. I see not only in Bulgaria, but on the European level, union regulation and frames that restrict so badly the development of artificial intelligence, that the community of the AI business and especially supposed to be more than union than ever. What I mean, most of the frames, as you know, it's normally they are written by the politicians, by probably professor in the university, but the significant point of the business is supposed to be heard. So again, thank you that I have this stage to share this. Very curious thing that I will share with you. I, of course, taking overview and read all the documents concerning ethical issues with AI next to the European Commission, but also I read those coming from Vatican as a proposal. Yeah, I'm finished. And Vatican so far looks like more liberal than European Union. Thank you.
So, all right, already see Matthias here.
Yes, I'm sorry to crash this panel. It's very interesting, but we are at the end of our time. We want to thank you so much for giving us these insights in way too much time to discuss all the interesting points. There are so many open questions. Thank you, Ulrike. Thank you, Gerd, Christina, Carlo-Jan, Gabriel, and Radu for your input. You are reachable over the matchmaking platform if people want to reach out to you, and we have many personal questions to you that you will probably receive. Bulgaria and Romania, best wishes from Vienna. And for our audience, we have to move on to the EIT manufacturing panel on towards smart manufacturing. And this session will take place in a different stream, in a different stage. So this live stream ends here. If you want to join the EIT manufacturing stream, please change the stream to the EIT manufacturing stage. We see you in a bit. And yeah, thank you so much
for joining.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you very much to Gabriel, Radu, and all the other speakers. Arrivederci, Osti from us.
Christina, Carlo-Jan, thank you. And
thank you.
Be in touch.